Hello everybody, Keith here again. Today I want to do 3 repots. They shouldn't take very long, but they're all due, or in at least one case overdue. Started doing some watering today and just thought, no, some of these have got to be looked at. This is the No ID Phalaenopsis I bought 2 years ago in March 19 at the Bournemouth Society 60th show. I actually bought it before we got there for the glass jar it came in, because I wanted that to try keeping Evander in, and this was it. It's much bigger than it was now, what it was back then. It's grown extremely well. I'm thrilled to bits with it, but it's come a long way up out of its pot. You can see it better that side perhaps. You can see it's come up a long way. We've got new roots coming, we've got some, not too many aerial roots. I think it's just ready for a refresh. The compost doesn't particularly smell, but I think it's ready. We've got some algae or moss or something here, so we'll have that one out and we'll have a look at that one. This is the one which I suspect is going to end up in the worst condition. This is my Dendrobium tetragonum variant gigantea, which I've had again for at least 2 years. In fact, I think I bought this at the same time. I actually bought this at the show, but I've repotted it since, because this is in what appears to be Westland media, which is something I have used in the past, but I'm sure it didn't come in it. It put up some nice new growths at one point. It hasn't put anything up now for well over a year, and it just keeps flowering, and I'm very, very worried that it's just flowering itself out. It's desperately trying to set seed before it dies, so I want to get it out, see if it's as bad as I'm afraid it could be, and then decide what I'm going to do with that. Last but not least, this is a species nobile that I got from Burnham's in 2018 as a very young plant. Might well have been a keiki looking at it. It's grown quite well, hasn't flowered for me yet. It's supposed to be Cooksoneanum, that variant, but I've actually got 2 more of those that are bigger plants. So it's got a keiki on it that's certainly big enough to either go in its own pot or be put in inside the pot with the other one. And again, it appears to have been put into some Westland media. So they've all been in the pots at least 2 years, so we'll have them out and we'll have a look. So we'll start with the easy one. We'll have a look at the Phalaenopsis. I just call it Salisbury yellow stroke orange, because that's where I bought it and the colour of the flowers. I'm going to lose a root because it's out the back of the. Oh well. Some of these roots, unsurprisingly, are not very clever. Some of them are better than I thought they were going to be. But the other thing it's been doing, like this one here, when you start to see them turning up and not going down into the pot, that usually sets alarm bells off for me. It's certainly well ready for a watering, but it was due today, and I just thought, no, we'll have it out of the pot, we'll have a look and see where we get. So I think that is going to need a bit of a rinse under the tap and a trim, so I'm going to just put it on standby. Sorry about the slightly abrupt departure on the last bit. I thought the camera had frozen and it actually hadn't. Clean this up because I haven't got a spare that size, so it's not pristine, but never mind. There's not going to be any problems getting this into this pot. It's exactly the same size, well, it's the same one it came out of, and by doing a trick I saw Roger use once, which was to twist the roots round into the pot, we can get in there. I'm going to use Orchid Focus bark. It's slightly smaller than the other bark that I've got in this particular bag, so it'll be nice and easy to get it in here and get it to pack in around the roots. And I say I don't think it's going to take a great deal of looking at to get it right. I've lost a root tip, but these do branch, so it's not the end of the world by any means. Oh, it was one of the new ones, never mind. Never mind, it can't be helped. As the old saying goes, it's no good crying over spilt milk. So that is the Salisbury's yellow and orange Phalaenopsis. That's the first one done. The one that I'm dreading most of all is this one, because I really don't know what I'm going to find in the bottom of here, and I suspect not very much. No, that is typical of how westland goes if you leave it too long. It just breaks down into sort of a peaty mess, as I thought I would find. We haven't got any decent roots at all. This is my fault entirely. I've left it too long in a medium that doesn't dry out well enough for a dendrobium. So slap on the wrist for Keith here. So a lot of the roots are just pulling away. There are a few that are solid, but not very many, and I can't see any new ones, and I can't really see any signs of a new growth, which is a pity, but never mind. I'm not going to trim the roots, I'm not going to get too silly with them, because although there's plenty that I could trim off, get this wrong, we're going to have no roots at all, and we're going to have all sorts of issues. So I'm hoping by repotting it back into the same pot again, not really an issue, get it in there. I haven't got anything any smaller, that's the other problem. I could do with one probably a bit smaller to help it dry out, but I think if I use more of this Orchid Focus material and keep a close eye on it, not water it too much. No, it's very much a case of it all being in the lap of the gods. might do alright, it might not. Oh well. Doesn't want to stand up in this, so that's going to be a bit of an issue. This is the one I am least concerned about. We've got a new growth there, as though we've got a cakey. Feels like we've got roots in here. This is a different issue altogether. It's just the compost is dreadful. The roots aren't as good as I thought they were. You can see that a lot of these roots are not as good as I thought they were. But as I say, we do have some new growth, so there's a good chance of some new roots. This is not good. Definitely not good. Again, I'm not going to hack this around too much. I think it's going to ease this cakey away. It's plenty big enough to come off on its own, that is. So that needs some cinnamon to protect it, and that can go either in its own pot or in this one, but that is growing well, so that should go away without too much trouble. Now, what have we got by way of pots down here? Thing is, do I go up one? Or if they decide they're going to strike, they do. Noble A cakeys can do incredibly well. I've got some albiflorum cakeys in a pot on the rack, and they've gone absolutely crazy. Can't believe it, just how well they've done. But I mean, that shows you the roots they can throw if the medium's any good, and we have got something there. So again, I'm going to use this orchid focus bark. Do a little one first, because that's going to be probably the most awkward with the length of these roots. But I've no doubt that these will be out the bottom of the pot before you can turn around. Oh, I know what I forgot. Cinnamon on that to dry it off. Right, so that's the cakey potted. That just needs a plant label. Put those labels back in the dendrobium. So let's have a look what we can do with this other one. Now that's green, which is interesting. So all I can really do is put it in there. And we'll just have to see how we get on. It really is amazing how much you learn as you go along with orchids, isn't it? Something seems to work for some, but not for others. The Westland compost can work. I've had some success with it, but looking back, it's been with plants that are very, very vigorous and use a lot of moisture, but it needs changing frequently. If you let it go too long, as I have done with this and the tetragonum, then you end up with all the bark going really rank, and you actually don't get anywhere at all with it. It just becomes waterlogged. So that's those 3, now 4 that have been repotted. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.